Okay, we're going to explore a question that is, well, it's pretty unsettling. What would happen if you just stopped doing one of the most basic automatic things your body does? What if you decided to just never, ever blink again?
You know that feeling, right? Of course you do. That burning, strained feeling where your eyes just feel gritty and done. It's basically the signature feeling of our modern, screen-obsessed lives. But what is actually happening in that moment?
Well, here's the science. When you're just going about your day, you blink about 15, maybe 20 times a minute. But the second you start staring at a screen, look at that. The rate just plummets. It drops to as low as 5 times a minute. We're literally, without even noticing, starving our eyes of something they absolutely need.
And that feeling of discomfort, you might just brush it off. But according to researchers, it's way more than just a minor annoyance. It's a warning shot. It's the opening prologue to severe structural damage. A tiny little preview of what happens when this system gets pushed to its absolute breaking point.
So, let's follow this all the way to its pretty grim conclusion. We'll start with our everyday stare down, then get into your eye's life support system. From there, it's a terrifying countdown, the first 24 hours, followed by a cascade of decay, and ending in, well, total system failure.
All right, Section 1, the everyday stare down. We're starting right here in the world we all live in, where our normal daily habits have already pushed our eyes right to the edge.
So we know that blinking less is a problem. But what if we take it to the absolute extreme? What if, for whatever reason, you just stopped completely? This is where things get truly, biologically terrifying.
Which brings us to Section 2, your eye's life support. See, to really understand the catastrophe that's about to unfold, you have to appreciate the beautiful, delicate system that's being destroyed. And it all comes down to this microscopic shield that lets you see the world. Every single time you blink, you're doing so much more than just getting your eye wet. You are mechanically wiping this incredibly sophisticated, 3-layered biological shield across its entire surface. It's called the tear film, and trust me, it is your eye's most important line of defense. Think of it like a perfectly engineered shield. The oily outer lipid layer is like a sealant. It stops all the moisture from just evaporating into the air. The watery middle aqueous layer, that's the real workhorse. It's delivering oxygen, fighting off germs, and washing away debris. And that sticky inner mucin layer, it's basically the glue that makes this whole protective film actually stick to your eyeball. It's a perfect little ecosystem, renewed with every blink. Okay, so now let's break that perfect system. The moment the blinking stops, the countdown to total destruction begins.
And it happens fast, like shockingly fast. Within seconds, not minutes, seconds, that protective tear film evaporates. The surface of your eye is now exposed directly to the air. The salt concentration skyrockets, and it starts pulling water straight out of your surface cells. This triggers an immediate, overwhelming, burning pain. Your body panics and produces a flood of tears, but they're useless. They just spill down your cheeks without that blink to spread them.
And the breakdown just accelerates. Within the first day, the cornea is literally starving for oxygen, which leads to massive inflammation and makes you incredibly sensitive to light. By day 3, the surface cells are actually dying and flaking off, creating these tiny little wounds. And by the end of week 1, those tiny wounds have all merged together, and the physical barrier protecting your eye from the outside world is officially gone. So, with the fortress walls breached, the next phase begins. This is where we go from structural damage to a full-blown, horrifying cascade of systemic failure.
This whole nightmare process actually has a clinical name: exposure keratopathy. It's the technical term for what happens when the clear window of your eye is destroyed by nothing more than being exposed to the air.
Once that barrier is down, your eye is basically an open invitation. Every single bacterium, every fungal spore floating in the air now has a direct entryway. And that exposed, raw corneal tissue, it becomes the perfect, nutrient-rich petri dish for them to grow on.
And what these invaders do is, well, it's the stuff of nightmares. They, along with your own body's panicked immune cells, release enzymes that start digesting the very collagen that holds your cornea together. The tissue doesn't just get infected, it undergoes something called keratolysis. It physically begins to melt. Now, you would think having your eye literally liquefy would be the most painful thing imaginable. And it is, at first, but then, after weeks of this agony, something really strange, really unsettling happens. The pain, it just fades away.
And this is not a good sign. It's the worst possible sign. The pain stops because the nerves themselves,
The very things that send the pain signals have died. This is called neurotrophic keratitis, and it's a point of no return. Because those nerves don't just feel pain, they also release the growth factors your eye needs to heal. So once they're gone, your eye loses its ability to repair itself, forever. The fire alarm has gone silent, not because the fire is out, but because the fire has just melted the alarm itself.
With no way to feel the damage and no way to fix it, the eye enters its final, gruesome endgame.
That melted, weakened cornea just can't hold back the pressure from inside the eyeball anymore. And then it ruptures. The internal fluid leaks out, the front of the eye physically collapses, and that bacterial colony from the surface floods into the sterile interior. This triggers a massive globe-filling infection that snuffs out any last bit of vision.
The absolute end of the line has a name: Fiss's bulbi. After the collapse and the infection, the eye basically gives up. The whole thing shrinks, atrophies, and hardens into this disorganized, sightless, calcified nub of scar tissue. It's no longer a working organ. It's just a remnant.
So what's the takeaway here? A blink isn't just some random twitch. It is, and this is a direct quote from the science, the fundamental pacemaker of the ocular ecosystem. It drives everything. Absolutely everything.
So what's the only thing standing between the vibrant, colorful world you see right now and a shrunken, useless piece of tissue? It's a tiny, unconscious reflex, an action that's happening for you right now, about 15 times a minute, without you even having to think about it. It definitely makes you think twice about that screen time eye strain, doesn't it?